So I'll put it this way: what if I came into your home, your place of whatever, and started saying all this stuff to you all the time with mics and body cams and all this stuff? And
I'd be like, man, somebody after my own heart. Let's talk.
no, it's.
I get what you're saying. You're saying, but okay, what is the university for?
Research.
Well, ultimately, it's for learning, right?
Yes.
Education.
Research, mainly. It's our institution for research.
Okay. Is theology something that is spoken about on university campuses?
I believe so.
Yeah, there's theological, department of degrees.
Cults. We're talking about those too, right?
So, I mean, but let's deal with this. We're on a public institution
Right.
where ideas are meant to battle out for the highest truth.
Sure.
That's how people do good science, right? People come up with ideas and then somebody says, you either got to prove it or they disprove it. So what I'm doing today is I'm saying that
You're saying it needs to be proven.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, scientific. That was your word, not mine. You said
Well, okay. How about factually?
factually.
Because science can also be the observing of processes. And so, like, for example, I can't scientifically prove through an algorithm or a theory where you were specifically born and at what time. That's just a fact. So in the same way, I can show you factually why the God of the Bible is true, why the universe had a beginning, as everybody agrees, and why the biblical account of creation, even if someone says, I don't want to believe that it's 6,000 years old, that's fine, because you can actually still believe in the God of the Bible and believe that the universe is old, because time is a really complex thing when you look at it scientifically. So I'm more than, but when you look at matters of where does truth come from, where does morality come from, there has to, and where does design come from, there has to be a creator.
Why?
Why venture to say that everything in your life experience, do you think that observable evidence does play a role? I'm not saying it guarantees, but it plays a role in bringing about a conclusion, like a true conclusion?
I mean, sure, observations are not, but we try.
Yeah, right, like gravity is the same all the time. You drop something, it falls. And so, observably, we can know that through your life, that everything you've ever seen that exhibited intelligence had a design. Can you name one thing that you've seen in your life that had complexity that was teleological for a purpose? Not a snowflake. That I mean, even snowflakes are pretty cool the way that they come about. But can you think of anything that you could say this just came about by random chance?
Yes,
Everything. Okay, did this building come about by random
Oh,
chance?
you mean human made?
I'm saying anything that required intelligence for it to come about.
So the thing is here, you were saying everything required intelligence. You're saying like this grass here, the air molecule, all those things.
Yeah.
So you've already sort of. This is why.
Well, don't get frustrated. I mean,
It's
deal with the idea.
Because I'm saying right now, the way you're arguing, it's not even really arguing. You're just saying flat out, well, I'm correct about these things because I'm going to bake into my definition that everything is intelligently designed. So you're saying, isn't it true that everything that's already been intelligently designed? That's kind of what you're saying.
No, it's that everybody has a
What
starting
you're
point.
saying, aren't you saying that everything is... If you're asking me to say that in my life, isn't it true that everything that's been man-made, that I know to be man-made from being alive and watching men make things, hasn't had a designer?
Well, some of that you take by faith and you take through reason. For example,
Pyramids, yeah, it could have been aliens maybe.
you didn't watch anybody build this building, but you do believe that there is a designer. So I'm saying that your very DNA is coding. And that when you look at the idea of random chance bringing about protein synthesis for advanced life, it is impossible. You should look up mathematical challenges to Darwinian evolution. It's not Christians talking about it. People are saying that prior understandings of evolution cannot account for the reality of the fossil record, the reality of how there's advanced life within, like, however many million years that you go from like single-celled organisms to all of a sudden it exploding on the scene. But the Bible does say that God created them. So you could even say that maybe, let's say you don't want to believe that each day is 24-hour days. The word yom in Hebrew can actually mean period, so it can mean like a time. So God created however he did it. You know, first he created the universe, said let there be light, sun, moon, and stars, you know, separated the water from the sky. I mean, everything that we see in science, if you look at the Bible through an open-minded lens, like some scientists even have, and you say, okay, I'm not going to look at this as 24 hours, because the Hebrew word does not have to mean 24 hours. You can actually see the periods of creation. Now, what I'm saying about things like DNA is that, you know, what can a mammal like you and I, or even any kind of mammal, live without a brain?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a medical scientist, but I guess what you mean by live, maybe some mammal. So why have you narrowed it down to mammal? Out of curiosity.
Well, because
like cephalopods, many of them have decentralized nervous systems, like octopuses, right?
Okay, so
why'd you do that? It's because you have your talking points prepared.
No.
Well, no. I mean, maybe a rat doesn't have a brain. You know, I mean, like why is it mammal?
Well, because what I'm trying to convey is, according to, or you believe evolution brought everything about? Are you agnostic, or
what do you mean by believe?
Like, do you think?
It's like a pretty good theory for the propagation of stuff.
Okay, so how does a creature that's a mammal, that has at some point no brain, no nervous system, and no heart, suddenly develop one? Because the brain needs the heart in order for blood to be to it and get to it, and the heart needs the brain in order to form and to know to pump. So you're asking me to believe the improbability that only a few billion years of random chance, well, even less, because if you believe the world is 4 billion
You're
years.
saying that shit's too complicated to just come about, right?
I'm saying that it would be, it would almost be like
So the fact
lunacy.
that you personally can't imagine how, or have not seen evidence of how, makes you go, well, that's impossible. Because that thing you're talking about, I'm forgetting the term for it now, it's been shown, people say about eyeballs, right? It's the same thing. But eyeballs have developed independently in many, many different species. Mammals, cephalopods, whatever.
When you say independently, what do you mean by that? Because I once had a debate with somebody here, and they brought up like breeding of flies to show that. But I mean, one situation where scientists literally forcefully breed different animals together to try to prove a point, there's still intelligence behind it.
Independently, what I mean by that, I'm not talking about experiments. What I mean is that, okay, maybe I'll have to bring it back down to a different level. So we have eyeballs, right? Humans. Lots of mammals have eyeballs. Things that, you know, of course you wouldn't believe in evolutionary trees, so you wouldn't bring them up as a concept, I guess. But things like fish and octopuses, they also have eyeballs, right? They're pretty similar, asking you, right? Like, you know, pretty roughly, all thing. So, how things like those can evolve iteratively in small bits. It's a patch of skin that senses light. That becomes further and further along. It starts to bow a little bit, and it bows more and more and more until it's bowed upon itself and it's made a pinnacle. Eyeballs. This has happened, when I say independently, I mean in many different evolutionary lineages. So what I mean is like, we have eyes, chimps have eyes, doesn't mean that humans and chimps develop eyes differently, whatever for us, it's branched off into less eyes. But that thing didn't develop the same eyes that fish.
Yeah, so I'm saying that's a theory, and there's not good evidence for it because there are no missing links, and there is adaptation within species. So, for example, if you find a fish that's 1 million years old, I mean fossilized, I don't know, and its eye does not look like a fish today, that doesn't mean that somehow it changed. It could literally mean that within that fish, you know, read a fish's DNA, it has the ability to adapt to circumstances and situations that enable it to do the best it can in its situation. Just like as humans, you know, you and I are white. If we were to move to Sahara Desert, have kids, and their kids had kids, their kids had kids, eventually there'd be darker skinned people from white ancestors. because it's in DNA to be able to adapt. But that just shows.
Ladies, you get one?
Mutation.
Yes, Scott's calling you.
Right?
It's
Like,
just, I think the thing
because
is
the ones that don't have the darker skin die, don't reproduce as much, probably
what you're
because they
bringing
get
up is
cancer.
that it's wrong.
Right? Like you're sort of
It's a moral
shooting
consumer,
yourself
right?
in the foot there.
It's a very
with that. Yes, that would happen
deontological.
because
Yeah,
the
to
people,
bring up that it's immoral, all right?
you know, of our white ass babies,
I understand what you're saying.
who had more.
But I think we have to also look at what are facets from making it illegal. I'm saying it's wrong.
Yeah.
Skin would have slightly more resistance to the intense sun there,
I
which would
understand that,
definitely give someone like me,
it's
maybe
wrong
you,
for like,
cancer,
it's not good for like
cancer.
unattended pregnancies to happen, right?
They'd survive a little bit better. They would have more children.
But they would never change to an entirely different species.
Unintended pregnancies.
So that's what I'm saying. That a fish a million years ago having a slightly different eye doesn't all of a
Okay,
sudden.
so what do you think the time scale of this? You said billions of years earlier, right? So you're not like a literalist where it's what, you're 6,000 years old or something like that.
I think that time is a very complex thing. From some standpoint, maybe it could be, you know, time is very relative.
Okay.
So
Well, you just said a million years ago. So
yeah, I think that the world that we're in today looks like it's.
There you go. It's a cool little gift.
So you're saying like, you know, your creator like made it with all the, he distressed the earth a little bit, right? Like distressed genes to give
No.
it that look, that ornate look.
No, I'm just saying, whatever the age, it doesn't really matter to me because I just believe this is created.
Well, okay, so you're sort of like saying a bunch of stuff here that doesn't really add up. So a second ago you said, will they never become a different species? You said not a human. So I'm asking you about time scale. You said never. Never ever pinky promise. So if, that's why I asked you if you believe the earth is whatever it is, 6,000 years old or so. Because I'm saying the time scales are really, really big. So,
Not big enough for random chance.
okay, and why do you think that?
Because when you look at the fossil record,
I think that like
the Cambrian explosion occurs. Sorry, I threw a little something. The Cambrian explosion.
But if the goal is
It's called the Cambrian explosion for a reason. You have simple, like, single-celled life, and then suddenly advanced life within a short level of millions of years. The level of,
it's just criminalizing.
you know, random chance that would be necessary for proteins, which are the building blocks, to synthesize to create more advanced life, and to not have error in them that's catastrophic, is like so far beyond that it'd be like the universe would have to be, don't quote me on it, but like, you know, 30 billion, 50 billion years old. And we know that the universe isn't that old.